Good morning, Honorable, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
I trust you're well, sir.
I'm well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you. Let's start off with the appointments committee and your observation of its vetting process so far.
Let me repeat what I've told everybody once. I have hardly watched any part of it.
Wow.
Unfortunately for me, one, I'm not a TV fan. Two,
Very well.
I don't want to be being invited to make value judgment of what my colleague is doing, so I don't watch it.
Very well. Then I believe we can zero into the happenings on the evening of Thursday, where there was a brawl at the committee sitting over whether or not the process should continue late into the night. I want to believe that you have seen or heard reports of same, and so if you permit me, I'll find out what you think about this brawl, and of course the directive that has been given by the Speaker subsequently.
All right. First and foremost, what I've seen on WhatsApp, portions of what I reported to have happened, whether it's the whole or a part of it, it's most unacceptable. It's extremely unbecoming of members of parliament. I think that whatever caused that must be investigated thoroughly. I have sat on the appointment committee for 16 years before I left parliament. I've been part of all the disagreements that we have had, all the negotiations that we have had. We've never gotten to a point where we resorted to fiscals and physically moving objects and tables and so on. I think that was most unacceptable, and the conduct of the individual members who were identified as having engaged in any of those things should be referred to the Privileges Committee of Parliament to investigate and apportion blame. The Privileges Committee, the Constitution, the standing orders provide the means for dealing with people found culpable. The punishment regime for members of Parliament in Parliament are provided for. The Parliament Act, in the standing orders, and even portions of the Constitution.
Very well. Honourable, do you think the Speaker is right in suspending these 4 MPs?
I wonder the basis, the legal authority. Because as I've said, there's a punishment regime. There's a procedure for dealing with misconduct of any kind, whether a member or a stranger or a witness, whoever is accused of misconducting him or herself. There's a procedure for dealing with it. What I've heard the Speaker say was bereft of procedure. No procedure was followed. I'm not aware that any of the rules or even the Constitution gives Mr. Speaker the power to punish anybody without due process. And that's where I disagree with Mr. Speaker. Indeed, he was right in referring the conduct to the Privileges Committee he ordered to be constituted. But why did he rush to pronounce punishment? When you're going to try the people, you must wait, go through the process, and then at the end of it all, if the people are found to have misconducted themselves, then the procedure and the rule, the sanction regime applied by we ourselves, the Constitution, the Parliament Act, will then be applied. And so I think he rushed into taking a decision or announcing a decision which he has no power to do.
Right. At the time of giving this directive, the Privileges Committee had not yet been constituted. Could this have in any way informed the decision to announce such punishment?
But he on the same, in the same statement.
Selection committee.
Yes, he has a selection committee to quickly be constituted so that they can set up the Privileges Committee. And indeed, if you look at the Privileges Committee that he ordered to be set up, it's to deal with the same matter. There's no other matter. Oh, okay, there's another one involving the lady Castle or something.
Hardcastle, yes.
So the committee should be set up so that all those matters will be investigated and then the proper recommendations made to the House. So I wonder the basis and the legal basis for pronouncing a punishment when the procedure had not been followed.
Very well. Let's look at the work of the appointment committee and, of course, you having served there. How did you, as chair, approach your work as chairman of the appointments committee?
Well, let me say that the major opportunity, or let's say my major procedure has been building consensus at the beginning. On any matter, I'll call the leaders. We will discuss, agree and disagree, and then we'll agree on how to go about it. On every one of them, right from the beginning. There's a meeting of the whole committee. But even before the meeting of the committee, I'll have a meeting with the leaders on both sides, and we will work out how we will go about it. It's a real pity that there appears to be, should I say, I don't know whether it's no negotiation but from what I heard Honorable Afenyo say, what it means is that what they agree upon was being breached. I hope that is not the case. If that is the case, I think the chairman should put his foot down. This is what we agreed. We should go by it, unless you persuade your friends on the other side to agree to do something else. You should stick with what you have agreed to do.
Well, what kind of pressure does being chair of the appointments committee put on a person?
There's pressure from particularly the executive.
Right.
Oh, we want to do this on time. Oh, we're taking too long. Oh, the president wants his ministers quickly. Often it comes from your leaders, the leaders of the house. And sometimes people claiming to be speaking on behalf of the president and so on. But I believe strongly that once I agree with my colleagues, no amount of pressure can let me change what we have agreed. I may go back to renegotiate if my colleagues agree. If not, then I will not change what we have agreed upon. Because Parliament, from my own experience, Parliament is all about negotiations. Disagreeing is very regular, normal with one another. But if you want to change something you have agreed upon, I suggest you go back to the group, the leaders, the people you negotiated with from the beginning. And the pressure, yes, will come from those who have been nominated, trying to persuade you that, oh, the president needs him, there's urgency here, and then your own colleagues in the house. But and insist on going by what we have agreed upon. I shouldn't expect that there should be so much controversy.
Right. Honorable, as we have seen happen at the committee sitting, my colleague Bernard Avle is here. I want to cede some of my questions to him.
Honorable Joe Wise, thanks for joining us. It's really good to hear from you, and it's nice to know you are doing well. In the Speaker's communication on the floor, he also sort of asked for leadership to meet him in his office on that same day to reconstitute the appointments committee and also take a look at the standing orders. I mean, is that something that is allowable within your knowledge of the rules?
Well, reconstitute the appointments committee, but still within the rules. You see, the appointments committee have been reconstituted by the new standing orders. They are leaders who are like statutory. The chief whips are statutorily members of the appointments committee. Unless you amend the standing orders, you can't change them. So I think reconstitution can only be done within the standing orders as we speak today. If they amend the standing orders, which is a project or an assignment for the whole house, maybe there will be a basis. But otherwise, the meeting, in my view, can only discuss the conduct of leaders and members of the appointments committee. Otherwise,
could it be that because 3 of the 4, at least 2 of the 4 suspended MPs were members of the committee by the standing orders, the 2 chief whips so that that meeting to reconstitute was occasioned by his ruling, which could be the only possible reason why such a meeting could be contemplated.
Well, you're speculating. Any answer I'll give will also be speculative. But what we know for a fact is what the standing orders provide for. The standing orders provide who can be members of the appointments committee, and that is those who are standing members. And that standing members includes the whips of the chief whips of both sides.
I see. So the appointments committee, in your view, can they continue meeting if what has been announced stands? Because the man basically says, I've suspended 4 of these guys. 3 of them are actually on the committee. Can the appointments committee continue their work?
The chief whips are statutory members, right?
Yes.
But the other members are, what do we call them? They are extempore.
Yes.
If they can always, indeed, but they are not permanent, they get changed. Some replace them as and when the subject matter changes. So the real challenge is whether Mr. Speaker had the right to remove the statutory members. As for the other members, they are rotating, they can be taking off, new people be brought in. Right. So
yeah.
The issue really comes as is the appointments committee now properly constituted. If the chief whips are not among them, is it properly constituted? Can they continue their work? I doubt that.
So I'm sure maybe questions of quorum will arise. Just another.
Quorum may not be an issue.
Okay, are you saying that
but
once
whether it is properly constituted?
So once the whips are not there, based on the standing orders, the committee itself is not properly constituted?
That's my view.
Interesting. The minority leader has said to us that he's prepared to engage, and because he was asked a direct question by the media whether I was going to go to court or something, and he says, for now, they want to engage. I know in the past Parliament, there was a lot of litigation with either the Speaker's judgments being sent to court and vice versa. As a 16-year member of Parliament, would you advise a judicial review of this order by the Speaker at this stage?
Well, the Constitution says that subject to this Constitution, Parliament may regulate its own proceedings. So as for regulation of Parliament's own business, it is within Parliament. But if the Speaker persists in suspending the members without due process, then it is taking out of the regulation. It falls within the constitutional right of members of Parliament. A member of Parliament is elected by a constituency to represent them. Does the Speaker have power to suspend them without due process, without following the rules? I think that becomes a matter which can be.
Oh, well, we seem to have lost the former chair of the appointments committee there. I wanted to ask him a question about it, following what your question on the judicial review, whether it was time for it, because, you know, following the directive by the Speaker, there was a question of interpretation of the directive of the Speaker. The minority interpreted same to mean that more or less the appointments committee, for want of exactly, should stop work. But then the majority went ahead to continue with the vettings. And so I think it falls in line.
And the other problem is that because the MPs are from different sides of the House, and because this contention is a political contention, I don't expect the four to come together to fight this. Because I think that there's a strong case to be made for a challenge of what the Speaker
Well, we understand the Honorable Osei-Owusu is back on the line. Honorable, thank you so much for staying on with us. We lost you momentarily there. But please finish that, and then we can proceed.
Yes, I was making the argument that if the Speaker persists in the suspension, then the issue becomes, what is the legal position of the Speaker as regards other members of Parliament? If those lines are not clearly defined in future, we have challenges with the Speakers assuming powers they don't have and suspending members when they don't have the power to. You know, it is important for the rules to be clear. Because, for example, in the case of Honorable, is it Abu Delai also, which involved deputy speakers voting or not voting. Now the rules are clear, it's defined. A member of parliament cannot be restrained from voting by any decision of the House. You know, but if you leave it hanging, the danger that another person may do the same thing is really very rare and scary.
So if I understand your point on what the speaker did, a member can only be found in contempt of parliament after a procedure, not just on the judgment of the speaker on his own. You believe there has to be a procedure followed through, for which then...
Because the procedure has been defined by law. It has been clearly set out how we should go about it. And so we should not permit any person. And remember, I think this matter is extremely important for me. Mr. Speaker is not a member of parliament. He's not. And so we should be careful allowing him to assume powers of interfering or regulating, assuming powers to suspend and remove members of parliament when he is not even a member. The powers he wields are powers granted him by members of parliament in their standing orders. In fact, all the decisions involving members of parliament are to be taken by members, not any other person.
Finally, there's a view that the deputy chief whips are also statutory members of the appointments committee because they constitute part of the leadership of the House. So even if the substantive whips are suspended, the committee could be constituted. That's somebody's view.
Is that the rule?
This is order 2. They are quoting order 2177.
And it says that the deputy whips are members.
A member of the leadership of the House is entitled to participate in the proceedings of the committee during the consideration of nominees for appointment. That's what the order says.
Yes. Every member can sit in the appointments committee, every member of parliament. But when it comes to taking decisions with the members, the chairman may refuse a member of parliament other than a member of the committee from asking questions. Sometimes I do that. I used to do that. You are a member of parliament. You are allowed to sit at the table, participate in the committee, but sometimes I refuse the permission to ask questions.
Finally, do you think the numbers in parliament is influencing the behavior of the committee? Because you oversaw 2 parliamentary appointments committees. In one instance, the MPP had a clear majority. In the other instance, it was very, very close. Could the fact that there's a 2/3, 1/3 be influencing the dynamic we're seeing unfold before us?
I don't think so. Whether it is 100 or it is respecting each other's rights to participate in proceedings. It is respecting rules or agreements reached with your colleagues. If there's no room, if there's no controversy, I don't think anybody will have a basis for saying, I'm a small minority, so I'll do this or do that. All the controversy I see, I heard Honorable Prayer and the others shouting out of that. We are good to do 3. We have done up to 5. We will not continue.
Honorable, also a matter of interpretation arose after the Speaker's directives. And I'm asking this because, especially that on the reconstitution of the Appointments Committee, the minority interpreted same to mean that the work of the committee had halted immediately, but the majority went ahead to continue with the vetting. Do you think it was right for the minority to recuse itself from the process following the directive by the Speaker?
First thing is that I'm not sure that the purported directive of the Speaker has any legal validity. So if it has not, then the committee as so constituted was the committee that was working. All they needed was a quorum. If you opted to stay out but they had a quorum to continue business. There's nothing wrong with them continuing.
This positioning of the minority, not necessarily walking out of proceedings, but disrupting proceedings. What do you make of this? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've already said that what I saw, the little expert I saw, are extremely unacceptable. It doesn't matter who was doing what. Parliament should resist any temptation to get into fiscal and violent confrontation.
Very well. Honorable, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We're grateful for your time and we wish you well.
Thank you very much.